this morning. Just keep stirring up the atmosphere for a second. Amen. Just keep the atmosphere stirred up for a second. Let's begin to pray in the Holy Ghost. Just begin to stir up the atmosphere. Keep it stirred up this morning, guys. Just keep it stirred up inside of you this morning. You know, we've been in a vein of faith, and her sending out that Jesse Duplantis message the other night for everybody to listen to since we couldn't be here kept stirring some things up, and as I'm sitting there, God's speaking to me. And there's some things that keep just stirring up inside of me. He told me to tell you this morning. He said, number one, you have not because you ask not. Number two, you have not because you require not. And number three, you have not because you believe not. You know, Pastor Jim Jarman asked me the other day, he said, man, where you been ministering? Where's God been having you? Where's God having you ministering here, you know, these past few months? Where you been? Where you been? Where you been? I told him, man, I can't get away from faith. I said, everything we do, it seems to turn right back into faith. Everything we're ministering on is faith, and having faith and building your faith and growing your faith and putting your faith into action, you know. And he's going, man, that's where I've been too. It's where I've been, where I've been. And it seems like the message that you're hearing more and more here lately is about faith. But the problem is the people of God do not know how to exercise faith. We do not know how to exercise faith as a whole. Most people do not know how to exercise what they've been given. We go about our day-to-day through our Monday little things. We do our little days, and I was talking to Pastor Josephine this morning, and I said, kind of like, you know, so we have these moments like where we're on the top of the world. It's easy to work your faith. It don't take much. You know, if your bank account's sitting good and your health's sitting good and all your relationships are sitting good, everything's going great, it's easy to have faith. Boy, I mean, you ain't having to do anything. Then all of a sudden when you get hit and something starts hitting on you, all of a sudden now we're trying to drag something up. We all of a sudden want something going on. But I learned something last night in the midst of some things that was going on. That even to begin to operate and work your faith, you're going to have to talk to God. You're going to have to stop and listen to Him a minute. But see, we tend to want to throw little, I use the term lightly a lot of times, the popcorn prayers. We have these little things that we've known, things we've been taught. We say something real quickly to something because we just know we're supposed to. But we've never actually stopped and listened to what's going on. And asking God, how do I pray about this? What do I go out of this? What do I put my faith on? And like Charity was talking about challenges, we had a challenge in the house last night with Pastor Josephine and things going on. And as this challenge was taking place, I'm sitting there and I got real quiet and I'm just listening. And in my mind, I'm thinking, my wife's probably thinking I've gone to sleep on her, I'm not paying any attention. But there was an issue going on and I just got quiet and I'm sitting there and I was like, Lord, what's going on is not a physical challenge. I know this. I know that what's happening is truly a spiritual thing going on. What do I do? What do I say? What do I go after? See, because I could have laid there and just, you know, prayer, faith, you know, over your body, blah, 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 and rolled on and went to sleep. And still woke up and having challenges and different things going on this morning. The deal is I had to stop and I had to begin to exercise my faith. See, it's easy when things are going good. Feel like you're on top of the world. It's easy to begin to throw out a little bit of faith, you know, exercise it just a little bit. But we got to learn how to ask God, what is it? I need to exercise. I need to kickstart this thing. What do I do? What do I say? What do I go after? You know, and I've told you many times, and we'll continue to teach you, you know, the enemy comes at you in three major areas of your life. Now, he hits you in all areas, but there are three major areas that he's hit you. Number one, he's after your finances. Jack with your money, he's got you jacked up. Jack with your health, he's got you jacked up. Mess with your relationships, he's got you. Those three areas are the three major areas that he begins to hit you in. And every one of you in here today can sit there and tell me about times where you had your money jacked with. You can tell me about times you've had your health jacked with. You can tell me about times you've had relationships jacked with. But in all of those times, have you ever stopped and asked God, what do I speak to this situation? Well, see, we're looking at things, what we can see. We go by what we see, what we feel. We use our five senses in the midst of what's going on instead of stopping and taking a minute and saying, God, how do I speak to this? What do I say to this? Y'all tracking with me this morning? You got to learn what to speak about these things. See, some of y'all have called up your pastors with things going on, and that's one of the things that I tell you, you got tithers' rights, go for it. You got issues going on in your body. The first thing I do when people call, when we got the prayer thread and things going out, I don't immediately go into prayer, oh, Lord, heal them, heal them, heal them, heal them. I start, Lord, is there something in there that I need to insert? Is there something in there? Is there wisdom that needs to come to them in the midst of something in their body? Are they doing something? Is there something I need to speak against? Is there something I need to bring to their attention? See, we got to learn how to speak, and we got to learn how to listen. Listen to what God is saying to what to speak to. So where are you at this morning, Pastor? There's some issues that we continue to have over and over and over in our lives, and there's a reason. We haven't got to the root of it. We don't know what to speak to yet. We're just speaking at, but not to something. So we tell everybody we're working in faith, and when we're trying to exercise our faith, but we don't even know what we're exercising it on. It'd be like me going to the gym saying I'm going to work out my arms, and I get over and start doing a bunch of squats. It didn't do a whole lot for my arms. I'm not exercising the right area. I'm not talking to the right part of the body. Still went to the right place. Still in the right area, but targeting the wrong thing. And that's a lot of what we do in the Spirit. If we're in the right place, we know the right things, we're just targeting the wrong area. Just laying some foundation for you this morning. I want y'all to catch a few things today. I struggled all night last night. I struggled. I was with the Lord, and I was like, Lord, what do you want me to minister on in the morning? Because I had nothing. I mean, I know veins and stuff to get into, but it's like, Lord, where do you want me to go this morning? And I woke up this morning, and I was like, I need a kickstart. Okay, kickstart. And then it just starts rolling. But we've got three major areas in our lives that we let the enemy take us out over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it's become an insanity level in our lives where we've let the enemy just keep taking us out of these same areas. We get a little bit of a reprieve, and we think, boy, we really worked our faith in the midst of something, and we've not even touched the root. We slapped a big enough Band-Aid on the top to stop the bleed for a moment and make it feel like it felt better. But we've got some issues going on in our lives, guys, that we've got to deal with. But you got to have to learn how to talk to Papa in the midst of these things and say, oh, God, what do I speak to? I've got a bleed going on, so to speak. What do I speak to? So we're supposed to have some faith exercising in the midst of this, but I've got to talk to it. I've got to get to the root of this thing. Why is it happening, number one? Have I got a door open? Have I let something in that shouldn't be? Have I left a door open? Is there a window open? Is there something cracked? Is there something in my life that I'm allowing to give an avenue to for this thing to keep coming in and keep taking me out, keep messing with me? Is there something that's going on? So we got to learn how to get real with ourselves in the midst of things. We got to learn how to get real with God. God knows everything about you. No matter what you're doing, you ain't hiding nothing. You ain't hiding it from those around you. We sense it, we feel it, we can smell it at times. I'm telling you, it's in the spiritual world, the things you sense it. When you're sensitive to the things of God, you sense it. Wasn't sure exactly where I was going this morning, but I think I'm finding my hole here. We've got to learn how to talk to the Father because we've got issues in our lives, guys. We've got things that keep happening. We get a momentary, just a feel good, and we think we've got something going, and we got something done, and we've done nothing yet. God in His infinite wisdom and mercy is just helping you. But it's time for the people of God to actually figure out who we are. It's time for us to figure out what we got. You're on over to Romans 12 real quick. I promise you, I'm not mad. I may come out of the gate sounding like I'm mad. I'm not mad. That's for sure. Romans 12, starting in verse 2. It says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. It says, don't be conformed to the world, guys. We can't do what they do. You ain't going to get results, God's results, by doing the world's things. And so we got to have your mind renewed. We've been talking about this. It says, for I say, through grace given to me to everyone who is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. And I've explained that to y'all. That's an invitation to come on up to a higher level with the things of God. So, but to think soberly as God has dealt to each one a measure of faith. Now, right there, everybody has been given faith. Every one of you has faith. All of you in different places in your life with your faith. Some was more than others. Some was taking the time to grow it. But everybody's been given a measure of faith. So nobody in here can sit and say, I have no faith, I have no faith. No, you've just chose not to exercise your faith. Your faith is not going to grow if you don't exercise it. It's not going to grow if you don't plant it in the right areas and let it grow. We got to exercise it. We got to let it flourish. But we each been given a measure of faith. But the problem is we're too busy doing the things the way the world does them and calling it faith. We have our own, we go through the day-to-day mundane things, and we just kind of ebb and flow, kind of like Jesse Plant was talking about. I love the way he's talking about that, the ebb and flow. So there is no ebb and flow in the midst of faith. We ourselves, we ebb and flow in and out of it. But so we should be getting in that flow and just rolling with it. But that flow, that faith is for you. God created everything. Before the foundations of the earth was ever created, before time even began, he already thought of you. And before he ever created you, he already knew that he's going to need faith. And he already says that he gives you a measure of faith. He'd already given you what you needed. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching people of God get taken out over and over and over with little bitty things, what would seem to be little bitty small things, but we're allowing things to take us out because we have absolutely no faith. And I say no faith, we've got no faith in action, we've got no faith working for us. We've just bottled it up and set it there. Because we walk around and we're thinking we're high on the hog when a little something other's going our way. Yeah, we got it. And all of a sudden we get hit with something, I ain't got it no more. A while ago, he said, we have not because we ask not. We have not because we require not. We have not because we believe not. You know, when I start going through things in my own life and I start seeing things and struggles that seem to come at me, you know, your mind won't start talking to you. Your mind won't start talking to you. See there, it don't work. See there, you tried it, it didn't work. So you prayed, you're still sick. You prayed, you're still struggling financially. You prayed and you still ain't got your kids coming home. You still ain't got these other things going on. And we got in these struggles and we allow our minds to begin to talk to us. We no longer got faith working on our behalf because we allowed our mind to talk us out of it. So you got to get in that part where you understand that what God's word trumps everything. But you're going to have to believe his word. Like Charity talking about a while ago, Mama talking about tester. I knew better. There was a consequence on the end of that one. But see, God's word, he's talking about come and test him. He said, go ahead and try it. Come and see what I'll do for you. Come and see. Just believe me at my word and come and do what I've asked you to do. Come in. There's an invitation for you to come in. And I love the way L.A. was talking about this morning. He's talking about there was an open door. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, and in my mind, it's like, God, this is like a barbecue. About food? I said, it's like a barbecue. You're sitting there and you smell it. I love when we got the pit going, got the brisket and all that going on. Boy, you walk by, it's like, oh, I don't care if even the neighbors have got it going on. The smell draws you in. Yes. But you wasn't invited to the neighbor's barbecue. But see, he said it was like a barbecue standing there, and it's like everybody standing in the door thinking, man, it smells good. And God's like, the table's open, guys. It's all here. I mean, there's anything and everything you could possibly want and need is at the table for you. It smells good. Come on in and sit and eat. It smells good. Come sit and eat. It smells good. We got that. We figured that part out. It smells great. How about you come on in and taste it to see? But see, most of us are still sitting in that doorway of just, it smells good, it looks good, it sounds good. We love hearing about the things of faith when it strokes the flesh, it makes you feel good. Oh, everybody wants, healing taking place in the body. Everybody wants plenty of money in the bank. Everybody wants everything restored unto them that seemed to be lost. I mean, we want those feel goods. You got to learn how to come in and taste and see. We got to learn how to come in and work it. We got to be able to come in and begin to listen to the Father and begin to speak the things out that need to be spoken and begin to speak them out by faith to see things transpire and take place in our lives. But we're watching around and we're sitting and we're watching it, and you can look at people living in your own lives that you probably know where they're getting taken out over and over and over by the same little things it would seem to you. Because when you get to a certain spot, when you see what's happening, you understand that there are small things, but to the people they're huge. Some of y'all may be in that spot. It's not near as big as you think it is. We magnify what the enemy's doing and forget what God has done. I've told you before, it's okay to get righteously indignant about the things of what the enemy's doing. It's okay to get righteously indignant about what's going on. Go ahead and tell him going back to hell. You don't need him around. But we need to learn how to listen to the Father so we can pinpoint some things in our lives and begin to speak to the right things. So I want to tell you now, if you're having issues with your money, you got issues going on in your finances, you need to sit down and talk to the Father about it. So what do you mean? Well, see, there's some little draws and some little foxes coming in there to spoil your vines. There's some leeches hanging on that you're not paying attention to. There's some things that are draining you that you're not giving any thought to. I've watched God multiply things in my life over and over and over to be able to take care of some things that I could not have done on my own. So, but also because I sit and listen, God, what's going on? What am I missing? Well, you've got this little leech over here that's drawing some things away from you. You opened your mouth over here and said a few things, kind of stopped the flow for you over here. Let's get this right. So you begin to understand that, we're looking at the job. Well, I've got to work 900 hours a week to be able to make the house payment. I've been there, done that. I hated it. But the deal is to begin to look into my life. So God, show me what it is that I need to be doing. What am I missing? Well, Pastor, I tithe. I get it. You tithe. You're in the right spot. You got the right things going on. But we still have some issues that will take place in us because we'll either open our mouths and say some things we shouldn't. We get our mouths kind of twisted up because we're speaking some words out. Or we allow some leeches to begin to hang on to us, and we begin to let things shed off of us and go into different areas that should never be going. And all the while, we're still trying to look at the job as our source instead of looking at Him as our source. And so our faith is now tied up in the thing of a world instead of in Him. Jump right into your health and the same features. There's lots of people that seem to have chronic things that go on and on and on all the time. And so we're looking at our bodies and it's like, okay, well, I'm sick or I'm this or this is taking place, da 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 da. Won't we boil it down to the spiritual and find out what's truly going on here? Go ahead and go to the Father and begin to ask Him, God, what is going on? What am I missing? Is it something I'm not taking? Is it something I'm doing? Am I speaking the wrong things? Am I allowing some wrong thought patterns? See, we boil it right down to get right down to the root of it and find out what's going on. Sometimes it can be a health issue that just needs to be dealt with. Sometimes it'll be a spiritual issue that needs to be dealt with. But you got to know what to put your faith on, but you got to ask. It's like I was talking about last night with Pastor Josephine. She was dealing with some issues. I immediately knew that it was not a physical thing. I knew there was a spiritual attack. There was something going on. But I just got quiet before the Lord. I was like, Lord, show me what to do or tell me what to say. What do I go after? Y'all ain't going to go bombard her. What was happening last night? It doesn't matter. The deal is that we were sitting there and she was dealing with a physical, what seemed to be in the physical, but I understood it to be a spiritual attack. So I'm like, Lord, what do I say? And I took my time and I listened. Then I began to pray and began to hit what he told me to hit. And watched things begin to melt away and fall away. And then she was able to sleep last night peacefully, and everything was great. But it's because I was listening to the Holy Ghost. God, what do I speak? What do I say? I had to have somewhere to put my faith. So what you got to learn to do today is find somewhere to put your faith. You're going to have to put your faith on something. How are you going to grow it? You're going to have to put it on something. You're going to have to work it. You're going to have to get it built up. There's too many people running around the church right now that think they're powerhouses, but they're little bitty immature babies in the midst of things when it comes to the stuff of faith. We're talking about people who've been in ministry for years and years and years that have absolutely no faith. They couldn't move a little kickball out their way. God's telling us we're supposed to be moving mountains, and they get stumbling over the smallest things. Nothing against them. It's just the faith has not been grown. It hasn't been exercised. It hasn't been put in the right places. And God's telling us today we've got to exercise our faith, and it has got to grow. We've got to get out of that ebb and that flow. I love that message. I think I'm going to go listen to it again. But we got to get out of that ebb and flow. See, it's us that's getting in and out of the flow. We should be in the flow and stay in the flow. It's a whole lot easier in the flow. But we've got to learn how to get in those areas and begin to ask the Father, what do I speak on? How do I speak to it? What do I say to it? What do I do? You see that word, the word tells us to come to him like a childlike faith. So we automatically kind of in our minds go to a little small kid. I'm just like, Lord, what do I do? I'm like, I only know what you tell me to do. I want to talk like Jesus. I only do what the Father tells me to do. I'm only going to say what the Father tells me to say. That's what it means to be childlike. Come up to him, is like, Lord, what do I do? Help me. I don't know. What I do know is I'm coming to you. You're going to tell me. So we got these issues and these deals that we're dealing with in our lives and things that are taking place. You need to begin to talk. You need to begin to ask. You need to be pinpointing some things in your life. Say, Lord, what do I do about this? What do I do about this? I'm struggling in my finances. What do I do? Struggling in my health. What do I do? Struggling with some relationships. What do I do? What do I pinpoint? What do I go after? You might see an immediate turnaround. You might watch something slowly transpire, but what it is you're going to have faith on it. You're going to have to watch it work, and you're going to have to watch it grow. Probably nearly all of us could stand up in here today and kind of give a testimony quickly of something that happened because we put faith on it. It was like immediate turnaround, a miraculous deal in our lives. But when you start looking at things in your life and begin to look over the I guess you'd say the time span of your life and where you're at and how you see patterns, things that kind of keep coming around over and over and over. It's like it starts over, it goes all the way, goes back and starts over. There's a pattern that keeps going. Why? Why is the pattern in your life? What's taking place? That's where you need to get your faith involved and saying, Lord, what do I do about this? And don't be surprised at the answer. A lot of times it ain't what you think it is. Because see, in our minds we try to reason out everything. We want to make sure that we got it right. We're trying to reason it out because it makes sense to us. Things of God don't make sense to the flesh, I promise you. A lot of times God will speak to me, I'm thinking that makes absolutely no sense, but yes, sir. It's because we want to justify everything that's going on in our lives because we think we've got it figured out, so we want to justify it. We think that we've got it figured out, so we want to justify, yeah, this is what's caused this. And God's like, no, it was this. Okay. It's hard for me to put that together, but then all of a sudden it starts lining up and you begin to see, oh, okay. I said something I shouldn't. I talked to somebody and said something I shouldn't. I've opened my mouth in some areas. I've left a door open somewhere and allowed something to come in. That's why I've been staring at the front door. I left the back door open, something come in. I closed the windows on this side of the house, but I kind of neglected that side. Now something got in. And so we got to begin to look at these areas in our lives and say, God, I need some help in these areas. You got to get real with yourself and get real with God. I need some help. Us men think we're going to bulldog our way through lives. I'm tired of having knots on my head. You hear me? You get tired of having knots on your head. I get tired of the headaches. I like results. I like God's results. So as you see these things that are transpiring in your life and you're seeing these struggles that are taking place, guys, you're going to have to get real. You're going to have to get real and talk to Him and say, God, I need some help here. What do I do? What do I speak to? How do I speak to it? So God's not going to leave you hanging. He's going to give you everything you need. You just got to listen. But also, too, when I started a while ago, I'm stirring up the atmosphere. We've got to learn how to stir up an atmosphere. Give Him an atmosphere to work in. One of the keys to having your faith in action is having an atmosphere stirred up that God can work in it. You know, if you stir it up and all you're doing is you're talking to trouble, you stir it up and you're talking to fear, you're talking about the issues and the things and the deals, and you've given no room for God whatsoever in the midst of that thing, all you're going to have is the atmosphere which you've stirred up. But see, now you stir up an atmosphere for Him. You begin to put your focus on Him. You begin to focus on where it's supposed to be and get that faith stirred up. Now He can speak to the situation and begin to help you see what it is that needs to be pinpointed. But as long as you're stirring up this atmosphere, that's the atmosphere you got. You stir up His atmosphere, now you've got Him on board. You've given Him an area and a room to work with in your life. But you're going to have to learn how to stir up that atmosphere. That's key. That's not sitting around and having 10 praise songs going on and singing all of them and getting all the right words and all of a sudden get the atmosphere stirred up. It's your heart and what you begin to stir up for Him. If you need to praise and worship, get it. If you need to sit there and bawl for 20 minutes, go for it. Whatever it is you need to do to stir up an atmosphere for Him, do it. All I got to do is begin to speak His name and just open up an atmosphere, begin to pray in the Spirit and say, God, I'm creating an atmosphere for You. I need some help in the midst of something here. I need You on scene. I need You. That ain't me walking around with this mentality of poor little old me. Walking around knowing who I am. I'm His son. He's my daddy. I need some help. Begin to stir up an atmosphere for Him. Give Him an area to work in your life. But guys, you're going to have to stir it up. You're going to have to stir it up. I can't come stir it up for you. Pastor Josephine can't come stir it up for you. It's one thing coming together in a corporate deal like this. It's easy to get it stirred up and you get energized and you feel it. Your spirit man gets all energized. And I mean, boy, it's easy to come in a place like this and stir it up. What happens when you go home and you get the phone call? What happens when you go home and you're staring at the bills? What happens when you go home and all of a sudden the world seems to come crushing around you? Now what you going to do? Some of y'all remember him, but we had a minister come one time and he was dealing with some issues and he was telling us about it. And he was digging in the midst of where his sewer tank had overflowed. He's out there digging in it, trying to figure out what to do and what's going on. And somebody got frustrated, and then he just got excited about the things of God and began to dance right there. I was kicking and stomping and did everything else. He just had myself a good old time with the Lord. He said just literally slinging it everywhere. Because he felt himself getting pushed down in his mind. He felt himself letting the weight of the world come down because it seemed like everything was hitting all at once. Everything was pushing down, and he kind of got into the woe is me. Like, God, don't you see? Don't you understand? Don't you know where I'm at? Don't you know I'm yours? Don't you understand? Don't you understand? And all of a sudden, kind of come to himself, like, you know what? I'm gonna create an atmosphere. He's there. I'm standing in my boots and ankle deep in what I'm digging in. He said, I just began to shout and dance and stomp around, had myself a good old time. Now, to the mind, that sounds silly. But he had a testimony on the end of it of what God began to do. Why? Because he created an atmosphere and began to put faith on something. He began to, all right, God, what do I do in this situation? I've allowed my mind to talk to me long enough. I've allowed everybody else around me to talk long enough. What do you say about this? But see, there are situations, but what you going to do? When you go home, what you going to do? Tomorrow morning when you go to work, what you going to do? When you go home and you're having to deal with the things, what are you going to do? You're going to succumb to what's going on and just do like everybody else does? Just kind of lay there? No, woe is me? Are you going to stand up in who you are? Begin to talk to your daddy and say, sir, I need some help. What do I do? What do I say? Where do I go? Who do I talk to? What tell me, show me. What do I do? And then you're going to have to do it on purpose. You have to understand everything you do, you're going to have to do on purpose. You're going to work in the midst of faith, you're going to have to do it on purpose. You're going to talk to the Father, you're going to have to do it on purpose. He tells you what to do, and you're going to have to do it on purpose. You're going to have to decide inside of yourself, it's going to have to be on purpose. Everything that I do is going to be on purpose. Everything I say is going to be on purpose. Why? Because I want to see the situation turn around on purpose. There's too many of us walking around busted and disgusted, sick and wore out, and act like we ain't got a friend or a name. What's sad is you get around a lot of Christian folk and you talk to them and ask them how life's going for them. Well, I'm making it. On Barely Get Along Boulevard, I'm making it. Huh. We must not serve the same God.
That's right.
Because my word tells me that I have all things that pertain to life and godliness. So it means that I can have all things. It didn't say I could have all the debt and have all the sickness and have all the other issues. It says I have all things that pertain to life and godliness. So I'm going to tell you that I'm blessed and highly favored, and I'm walking in the things of God. If you're on Barely Get Along Boulevard, you need to come meet mine. But see, that's where a lot of people are today. And that's why the view of God is so off in everybody's mind. And when you talk about faith and you begin to talk about things like this, they want to shut up and go blank on you. They don't understand it. Why? Because they haven't truly met the one who will help them in the midst of everything. I'm not saying they aren't Christian. They just don't understand the things of God. I'm not going to get too deep into that one right now, but religion will drag you a long way away from the presence of God. Religion will take you way out there, try to make you think you're doing it on your own. But I want to ask you a question this morning. Would you dare to believe God at His Word? Would you dare to believe God at His Word? Would you dare to believe that what He said would actually take place? Would you dare to believe that certain things in your life can turn around simply because you go and ask Him and dare to believe His word over it? I can tell you right now, I know a good handful of people that's in this building right now that have struggled with money before that don't struggle now simply because they believe God and His word. Now, I'm not going to say struggles don't come in hits, but they don't stay. Why? Because they believe Him at His word. They know where their faith is. They know what to begin to activate faith on. So would you dare to believe God and His word today? That's a pretty simple message and a pretty simple question this morning. You're going to have to answer that inside of yourself. Do you dare to believe God in what He would say? Do you dare to believe Him in His word? Would you dare even go ask Him what He would say about a situation? I mean, raise your hand if you want money issues in life. Raise your hand if you want to be sick in life. Raise your hand if you want anybody and everybody in your life with families or whatever, anything going on, you just want turmoil all the time. So why do we live that way? Why do we allow it to take place, and why do we allow it to stay there? Why do we allow it to take place? Why do we live there? See, none of us would raise our hand. Yeah, I want money issues. I want to be broke, disgusted, and have a hard time doing anything in life. I want to be sick every day of my life. I mean, I just want to just fall apart every day when I get up. I want every relationship that I ever tried to have just fall apart. I want everybody to be mad at me, and I want to be mad at them. I just want turmoil. I want problems always. No. But yet we live that way. Too many people of God that just live that way. And they've accepted it. Well, this is my lot in life. Go back to the Word. What has He said about you? What has He said that you're supposed to have? I'm not going to meddle too much, but there are people that have put more faith in what a doctor has said over them than what the Word of God will say over them. You can sit there and pray the prayer of faith over somebody, and they'll be like, yeah, but the doctor said. Well, you know what? You go ahead and believe what the doctor said, because that's what you're going to have. I told y'all before, I've got no issue with doctors. I just don't like going to them. They practice way too much for me. But I have gone, and I will go. Sometimes just to figure out maybe what's going on, so I have a little bit more of a pinpoint area to stick my faith on. I've been to doctors. I'd go again if I had to, but I always listen to the Holy Ghost before I go and do anything like that. But there are people that put more faith in somebody who's practicing than the one who created them. Let that sink in for a second. But you're going to have to dare to believe God at His word today, guys. You're going to have to dare to believe Him at His word today. About running out of time. Let's just take a minute this morning. Stand on your feet. And just for a moment, I want you to think about the things that deals with the issues. Whatever it is you got going on in life right now that you know needs immediate attention in your life. I want you to just put that on the forefront of your mind for a moment. Whether it's money issues, whether you've got some health issues, whether it's some relationship issues, whatever the issue is, that's just the three big ones I bring up. There could be different things going on in your life. But what is it, that issue right now that's in your life that's kind of got you stumped? It's kind of got your toe buried in the mud, so to speak. You're having a hard time moving forward on it. won't you begin to create an atmosphere as you're sitting here amongst your brother and your sisters? Just create an atmosphere. Begin to pray in the Holy Ghost for just a moment. Just begin to stir up the atmosphere. Begin to have that in the forefront of your mind and begin to think about it for just a minute. And dare to begin to ask God, Lord, what do I speak about this situation? Lord, what do I say about this area? Lord, is there something there that I need to close? Is there an avenue that I've left open? Is there something I've said? Is there something that I need to do? Is there an area in my life that I need to speak to? Is there perhaps somebody that I need to go speak to? But just stir up that atmosphere for yourselves just for a moment this morning. Begin to bring that up. Begin to look at it. Would you be real enough with yourself to even take it to Him? Would you dare to even ask Him about it? Because if you don't want nothing to change, nothing to change. If you're not willing to take it to Him, it's not going to change all of a sudden just because. Some of us are standing here today just simply by the pure mercy and the grace of God over our lives. Some of us are able to function and do what we do simply because of the mercy over our lives. But there's more. Take that before Him today, the issue that you see going on, the deal that seems to have you jacked up, the thing that just seems to got you twisted, and say, Lord, what do I do? I'm coming to you like a child. What do I do? Daddy, you've got the answers for the midst of this. What do I do? How do I do this? What do I say? What do I do? What changes do I make? Just tell me what to do. As you get that, as He begins to answer your questions for you, do it. And do it quickly. If you need to forgive, you forgive now. If you need to give, you give now. You need to go do something, go do it now. Don't let these things hang out over you. Don't let these things continue to stay. Singing a song earlier, I was never meant to carry this burden. You've been carrying it for far too long on your own. But as you stir it up in that atmosphere and begin to take it to Him, just dare ask Him about it. Say, Lord, help my faith in this area. Help my faith in this area. Help me expand, help me grow, help me grow my faith in this area. Give me faith, help me exercise it. Not the typical Sunday morning message. Watching men and women of God be taken out day after day, after week, month after month. And I think a large part of it is because we just don't know how to ask. We don't know how to require what we have. We don't know how to believe for it. guys, each and every one of you are loved beyond measure. Every one of you is loved beyond measure. Those of us with kids, we want the best for our kids. We would do anything for our children. We want the best for everything for our children. How much more does God want for you? And if you don't have children, there are people in your life that you just wish would excel far and above and beyond anything they are now. You just want them to go further and further and further. How much more does God want for you? But it's taking that time and getting real with Him, sitting and doing just like you're doing right now. Taking the issue, the problem before Him and say, God, help me. What do I do with this? And watch what He does. Watch what He shows you. I promise you, you're not going to get in the presence of God and get an answer. You're not going to get in the presence of God and not get what you need. You'll never be in the presence of God and leave empty unless you drop it and walk away. Guys, you got to stir up an atmosphere. You got to stir up an atmosphere for Him. Men, you got to stir up an atmosphere. Ain't all the ladies' shoulders